Welcome to Do It Live Autonomy Podcast. My name is Joshua Hale. I am glad to be here. We got a great group of people, some newcomers to the Do It Live Podcast. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be going over this last week of Autonomy. We had a real exciting week where we just passed the midway point in the season, and I think everybody can agree that things are really getting good. The last night's presentation went to 5:30. Does that? I started falling asleep. Rich, did you make it to 5:30 last night?
It's like 4:30 Eastern time.
All right, 4:30. I don't know how you do it or what you put in that tea, but it was a fabulous Q&A after last night's lecture, and we're going to be going over some of the highlights from this last week. Danny, how you doing? And what did you?
Wonderful.
What stood out to you this last week in Autonomy?
One of the things that stood out most was over the course of my background is in sales, and so and I didn't get it from the company that I'm employed with, even though I've been there. This is my 28th year with them, and so everything I've learned about sales, I learned very independently of my employer, and so I had to learn it from other people, and I got bits of pieces here and there, and I never really got a full picture. And so what I've seen in the last 2 weeks has been a very comprehensive, it is the full art of sales, because now I look at it from my lens. It's like, wow, it's all there. It's all in one place. All the terminology may be a little different, but the conceptuals are there. And so regardless of where you're at in a sales experience, whether you're a newcomer or experienced at this, what I've seen in the last two presentations, that shortens that learning curve drastically. So kudos to you guys for putting that together.
Awesome. I fully agree. And we're going to go through the timeline of this last week, and then we'll circle back around and dig deeper in what we covered last night. Because I've had my own awakening to the art of sales myself, and now I use it like every day. Like I got a 2-year-old. I use it every day. All right. Well, kicking off this last week, kind of going back in time, we've had this is from one of our clients from Autonomy Unlimited. We just kicked off a new landing page. This is going to be a free checklist. The team came together, and we're just about ready to launch this new endeavor. This checklist should be a really easy piece of value in exchange for an ethical bribe of your email, to where now's a perfect time to examine your business and see if it is firing on all cylinders. So you'll be able to download this, go through it, yes, yes, no, 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 and then ideally lead to the next step in that in examining your business. We're excited to get this going, and we'll let you guys know how that goes. Aside from that, we had our official launch of Grand Theft World Podcast last Sunday.
Awesome.
We've been talking about it for a while now. We've finally put it on the calendar. Everything's coming together. People are showing up. They're supporting. People are doing all sorts of endeavors to make this thing take place. This is quite a unique program because it is long form. We almost crest 3 hours right in our initial launch podcast number 1, and there's a group of people there that can look up artifacts in real time and be able to share with those things as we go along. Richard covers some of the highlights of current events throughout the weeks, all these channels that we watch and check out. We get to show highlights, clips of those, and then have a roundtable discussion about that with the Autonomy community. And so it leads to just extremely rich high level, rich, high level quality of conversation, and then you get to see the actual evidence backing up everything we're saying. So it's not just some guy trying to remember a headline and making you do all the work to verify what he's saying. But if you see here on like our webpage, you have all the resources right here where you can go and look at the evidence yourself, come to your own conclusions. We share all the clips that are being talked about in this. So this is really a treasure trove of information that you can trust, that you can come to trust to be able to share with your friends and family. So let's check out a quick clip from this, and then we'll be able to talk about this.
Talking about Epstein's death or suicide, like openly
Like,
laughed
Ghislaine's
his ass
safety.
off.
Will Ghislaine be safe? And he's like, yeah, we'll keep her safe. He's like,
I mean,
is that your cut? Is that a system glitch?
Yeah, that's me trying to get that last part in there. And yeah, there are some system glitches tonight, guys, like this one here you're seeing. But overall, I think what we're doing here is working out pretty well. And good job curating these clips, Rich. What do you think about Bill Barr?
All right, so first off, Bill Barr's like an interesting character because it's like people look at him and he's like, oh, he's doing investigations. And some people say he's pro-Trump, some people say he's anti-Trump. I would offer this. He's definitely pro-globalist, and he was like, his law school was paid for by the CIA. He was in the CIA when he went through law school, and they paid for it. So does he have allegiance to the administration, or does he have allegiance to the old guard that sits behind the scenes, partners up with ex-enemies of this country, and subjugates and subverts American liberty at a lot of different turns? So Bill Barr was investigating the Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself episode, and then there was the article that I was asking about that I was referring to, and the notion was Bill Barr's dad worked at a Philadelphia private school, which once upon a time hired, and I thought it was Bill Barr's dad who hired, a young mathematics teacher named Jeffrey Epstein, who liked to be around young people for some reason. Not a very good teacher, though. And then he later is famous for a whole bunch of other infamous acts and surrounding himself with people like Bill Gates and these sorts of things. And when you get into Epstein, like the eugenics aspect of his agenda is the part that is overshadowed by all this other stuff, just like the Hunter Biden incest and pedophilia with Joe Biden's granddaughter is covered. Like that's the thing people see, when really there's a bunch of interesting documents about Russian and Chinese government sending and bribing and money being taken and these sort of things, right? So in all these cases, they go with the sensational stuff a little bit, but they don't really touch into the tangible stuff. And those sensationalizations, like, I'm not saying there's not a lot there with that laptop. There's definitely some things to be discussed that should be covered in a free press. But it's just like the WikiLeaks. There was a lot of substantial criminal evidence in the WikiLeaks for the DNC and the Hillary Clinton emails right before the 2016 election. That got overshadowed by a psychological warfare operation, sting operation, limited hangout operation, red herring operation that overshadowed all this legitimate information that should have been scrutinized by a free press. So at every turn, when the free press in this country has the opportunity of covering the actual story, or cover the actual story, or, give service, give homage, give worship to the sensational story that's going to get the clicks, they choose sophism over truth at every turn.
This is not what you're going to be getting from your nightly news. This is the actual backstory behind the narratives that are being spun out there. So extremely valuable information. And now we're getting organized so you can come to one location and get a recap of the last weeks of sensational headlines and current events before getting plummeted by this next week's. Danny, have you catch that yet?
The Grand Theft World, I haven't had a chance to check that out yet, but it's stuff I take an interest in. So I'm definitely going to look into it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get lost in those all the evidence down below, below the video, and like this has really been a large project that's been coming along nicely. We have the Grand Theft World Discord server now, where we're now have an active community. Over I think 300 people are in there now, but we have all these great categories now getting organized, so the whole community is contributing to what we should be aware of. And this is so valuable because if you've seen the Social Dilemma movie, they explain how the feeds that everyone's being given on social media are very much manipulated and controlled, all based upon your attention span and what would keep you focused on these networks. And it's not information that's valuable to you. It's not an accurate view of reality of what all your friends are experiencing. Those feeds are designed specifically for you and you only, just to get you hooked and to waste time scrolling through those feeds. And so the information that's in there is very, very much skewed. So having this community of active, conscious individuals, critical thinkers themselves, and everybody grabbing what they find relevant, what they find important, being able to throw it in here in a nice, organized manner, then each week we get to go through that and add to that and be able to highlight what is it that this conscious community thinks that is most important, and be able to share that in a forum with that weekly podcast. So this is really coming along nicely.
That's excellent. It's always good to have a community of people that are like-minded and can have open discussions about stuff. And there's times I struggle with that with some of my friends because all they see is mainstream media. They understand a little bit of it, but they all too often try to write it off as, oh, that's just conspiracy. Oh, well, you're being paranoid, Danny. It's like, no, there is a reason I started this nonprofit. And it's not for show and tell. Sure, there's ways I can obfuscate it, but the bottom line is we need to be growing our own food. Let's cut all the jokes. We're at a point now people need to start. And so with everything that's coming in, people understand where I'm coming from with that, and a lot of them they need more proof, and it's going to come down to when the store shelves are empty and they need to get a shot to get food. That's when it'll change for them.
Right, and they'll wonder how did this come to be? How did we get to this? Which by then it's a bit too late, right? When you're facing
Yeah, and that's one of the things I always push people to do is, you don't have to take a lot of action today, but do something, anything. Don't wait. And so even when we created our home-based systems, that was to shorten the learning curve. So no, you don't have to get a greenhouse like this to grow your own food. Here's something that you can do in your own home, in an apartment with very limited space, and it gets you the premise and the knowledge to do this, because the government's not going to show you how to grow your own food. That's by design. That's social engineering at its best. And to prove the point, 100 years ago, 70 to 80% of the population knew how to grow their own food. Now, at best, we're at 2%. And in a lot of models, we're at 0.002%. That's more realistic.
Dang. And it's not even that, like you said, just do something and some self-preservation. Because even if you're not going to be, I got 5 acres and we don't have it down yet that we got enough food to feed ourselves through the winter. Like that's a big responsibility to be able to fulfill. But it's that mindset, right? If you're doing something, if you're buying some extra cans and putting it on the shelf, you got a mindset of preparation taking place, thinking about not this current moment, but what's coming ahead. And that mindset is what's going to steer you through what's coming up. Not just, the victim mentality of like,
Oh yeah,
well, gotta
yeah,
trust the government because they're in charge of taking care of us.
yeah, and that's why I see prevalent in the school system now is not only do I see it from the students, I see it from the parents. They're under the assumption that the government's going to take care of everything. Just wear your mask. You know, hey, your kids are going to go to school and sit in a cubicle now uh, forever and a day, and they don't think about, well, do you have an understand where this is going? And they don't see that far ahead. Um, they're never going to take this thing out. uh, they think it's just going to magically go away, or they think, oh well, as soon as we're all vaccinated, the problem will go away, and that's not how this works.
Not when they're moving the goalposts, and all the vaccine has to do is reduce symptoms of a mystical uh, uh, disease, anyways, and they can just keep saying, "Well, it's better than nothing."
Yeah, and even I could show you one slide that I have here in the greenhouse to show people just how much of a fallacy it is to wear a mask. Even from so without my pain experience, I could show it from an aquaponic vantage point on one slide, and people are like, that can't be true. Well, who do you need to hear that from? If you're not going to listen to me, who do you need to hear that from?
Because the UN and the CDC, they just keep flip flopping their opinions, and this whole last 8 months, they've just been
Yeah,
turning directions on which what they're telling everybody. How easy could it be to just have a distribution of vitamin C, vitamin D, and going out there and supplying that to everybody instead of handing out these pacifiers? I don't think it costs that much, right?
no, vitamin C and D are very cheap, and it fixes the problem.
Right.
So, but it proves itself in social media. Even is okay. Even in the regular mainstream narrative, they don't talk about vitamins. They don't talk about nutrition. They don't talk about, hey, go out and get some sunlight and get some vitamin D. None of that's going on. So now they're talking about, oh well, there's a surge in cases. Well,
What's the case?
yeah. And so one, they can't prove it exists in the first place. And then number two, people are getting the sniffles because of seasonality. That's one aspect. Another aspect is there's not as much oxygen in the atmosphere at the moment because of something cyclical that goes on in nature, but people don't know that. They don't get any sunlight because they were in the lockdown all summer, so they're nutritionally depleted, and so that leaves you susceptible to, yeah, you get the sniffles. Oh, you're gonna get a cold, you're gonna get a flu, but evidently flu's been eradicated and it's been replaced by this COVID thing. And people they can't put the square peg in the square hole anymore. And so when people go off in that narrative, I was like, you know what? I got things to do. Bye. Have a nice day.
And when you say eradicated, that means that the CDC has stopped reporting flus this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they did a report for Canada. They have 9 cases of the flu for the year. So either it's been eradicated, or they're just not counting it, or it's just their magic way of counting things. And it's unfortunate that people can't figure out what's being done. And so,
Well, Danny, I'd like to see a presentation of your information on masks. And can you give everybody just a little background on what you do?
sure. And so my background's in sales and building materials. And so I've worked for a company called Dunn Edwards Paints. This is my 28th year there. I've worked in different sales segments. And so I've worked with painting contractors directly, the general public directly. And where I'm currently in my department, I work with architects and designers. And so in my outreach, my motivation for working with them is the architect is motivated to use the best possible products on all their projects. Paint does only 2 things: it beautifies a project, yet it protects it. That's your best and first line of defense on your building. And so, why use the cheapest or the least performing stuff to do this. So when I reach out to people or when I'm working with clients, I just give them information so they can make a discernment on what to do, where to use it, how to use it, and it's worked out pretty well.
I imagine those paints probably don't have very much, they probably have some toxic fumes in there. And so your painters need to be wearing masks. So you know a thing or two about masks. Is that right?
Yeah. And so some of the more heavy duty things, so even the one they promote everywhere, the N95 mask, that's designed for sawdust and dust, period. It's not to stop a virus. It says it right on the mask. And the reason that warning's on the mask is when we had the swine flu thing and all these other things that were going out in other previous pandemics, there was this stigma that, oh, if you wore this mask, it would protect you. Well, no, it doesn't. So somebody's tried to sue these manufacturers in the past for, hey, I got sick while I was wearing your mask. Well, no, that's the way they get around that is, no, it does not protect you.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, and so that hasn't changed with this. So that's kind of why I had the issue with the argument the other day. It's like, why are we don't lie to people? Just tell them the truth.
It's a pacifier.
Yeah, it's a pacifier, and so we have some very draconian things that are circulating in the company in terms of working with the stores and working with people. They've got they got the poly sheeting everywhere. They've got all these, everybody has to wear a mask. And, so they've got cameras in the store. So somebody at the corporate office turned the camera on one day and see me walking around without a mask. And so I got called to the table about it. So, it's like, come on now. Y'all ought to know better.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, I'd love to see that slide someday, maybe in a short presentation. I think that'd be cool. Meanwhile, Grand Theft World, this is a sneak peek. You get to see sneak peeks here, where we're now working on the redesign of the website, something just much more accessible and being able to just take a glance. This is an aggregate of news. Probably we're at like 40 different contributors right now, of an active chronological feed of some of our favorite news sources, all in one location. You can come down, check out the headlines, and see what catches your eye in order to stay up to date on things. But and then on top of that, there's going to be editors of Grand Theft World putting in original content throughout this as well, and you'll be seeing our nice productions in here as well. So this is going to be a valuable resource, backs up the podcast, backs up, this is an extension of the community. So what people share here can also show up on the website and be archived. It's going to be a very valuable resource moving forward, especially as things disappear on the internet. All right. This week we had a Renaissance Revolution with Pablo, and I'm just going to show a little clip of what they're doing in there. This is a good place to start. Oh, give you context. This guy, he literally just asked for some keywords from the audience and said, hey, give me some topics. Give me some topics. They threw 10 topics at him, and then he did a rap song. Oh. Come on, Zoom. 48. Let's do it live here.
The currency, they're not doing that well though currently. A trade war coming on between here and China. Yeah, the White House in fear saying, oh God, yeah, we got those tariffs. Gotta keep the money in that balance. If you don't study it fiscally, there's no laughs in here. It's a risk for me, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna move on. Quantum mechanics, yeah, not the U one. I'm gonna say particles in space could be anytime, like tequila in my face. When I knock it down my neck, I take a lot of shots. I'm in the bar, how many? Yeah, I forgot. I look all of the glasses, I try and count them up. The next in, yeah, hold them up. Your ones are mean. I'm gonna say this, I'm a charmer. Let me take it off you, Expelliarmus. What a magic trick you can do, Harry Potter. Can you refill this empty bottle of tequila? Get me Jose Cuervo, sounds like a spell that they do, and I do know. You can ask him, come from far. Harry Potter, how did you get that scar? Well, actually, I was drunk on the worm juice. I was walking around, here's the mad proof. I stumbled and broke my glasses. When I get drunk on tequila, the girls' asses look so fine. I've observed, I crash and I burn like the Hindenburg. Coming in the early 20th century. You tried to land there, it was meant to be, but didn't end pleasantly. Oh, the humanity, all the German people dying, they were set free. It was burning, never do again. Careful, don't fill with the hydrogen, because it's flammable, fools. When lightning strikes, it's not gonna end well, no, not right. All the people burning, one little fact, there's still one survivor. Where does he live? Actually, in northern Colorado. This is true, I studied this, yeah, I really do go. I think he lives in a place called Parachute or Rifle. I've got to look it up, tell you the truth. Chris, we didn't know these people live for so long. It's true, yeah, I've got a really long schlong. Why would I say that? Yeah, I am the boss here. I don't call it a big schlong, I call it a sausage.
Yo, that's hard. That's hard. Like, my brother, he's a freestyler. He's a rapper. And I try freestyling. I'm terrible at it. My brother's really good at it. And that's skills. So that's what's up. Thank you, Eric. He dropped that in the Poets Corner. And I saw that earlier and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drop that here.
So we got Poets Corner inside of Autonomy. Got a great group of guys that get together, share their art. They have open mic night. They share their poems, their songs, what they're working on. And yeah, that clip was pretty like worth checking out because he just grabbed like 10 keywords from the audience, 10 topics, and then he just knocked them out like in real time. It was insane. Moving forward through the week, I got I had the pleasure of interviewing a lady named Vivian who does she's got a Discord server on self-directed education, and she has an amazing story of pulling her kid out of school when he was 7 because she didn't like what was taking place. She noticed him changing. The light was dimming in his eyes, she said, and she just had a bad feeling, pulled him out, and had an amazing experience researching all about self-directed education, got him into some really great programs, and then found out he wanted to go to college. And so she had to learn how to translate all the achievements that he has done through homeschooling. And now he's in a prestigious university pursuing physics. And it was a really amazing conversation that we just put up as a replay. But I'm just going to play a clip of this. And
and then he does it. And then they realize they have to do it. They realize they have to study, and they do it. And they manipulate the system. It's beautiful, beautiful to see. I could never do that because I don't, I would butt against it. He just can kind of go like, and then, he gets people to do things for him. It's brilliant because he's used to it. He's used to those dynamics, right? And having those groups around them that just kind of have that, edge of chaos in which everything is kind of suspended where it needs to be, and everything falls into place. That's how a system really works. It doesn't work in rows. Another thing that is amazing is that they're able to, and that's how the classical education was, to be fair, is that they're able to see through, like, have an overview of things. So when they learn something, it's not that they're learning this thing over here and this thing over here, all disconnected. They're able to connect things, and they're like, oh yeah, and this connects to that, and this connects to that. And for example, he's taught himself microeconomics, microeconomics, history, geography, all this because he loves it.
It was a really, really fun conversation to hear that we all have the capabilities of teaching our own kids. There's so many programs out there now in each town, each neighborhood, that we to think that pulling your kids out of school and they won't learn anything is just a complete myth. As she was saying, they just naturally learn with the environment that they're in, and you just give them a bunch of challenging stuff to do and they figure stuff out. She talked about how her son, he was like 10 years old and like still wasn't reading yet. And she was like getting nervous. She's like, oh crap, what did I do? You know, my kid's going to be like defective. But then one day out of the blue, she said he was like reading comic books up to that time. And then one day out of the blue, she came up to her husband, who had this like Sony like ebook reader back in the day. And he's like, hey, can I use this? And they're like, yeah, sure. And he ended up downloading a 600 page fiction book, science fiction book. And like just started reading it because he wanted to. He was interested in that book, and he just made his way through it. And he came up to him. He's like, "Hey, can I get the next in the series?" And they're like, "Yeah." They like pay for it, give it to him, and all of a sudden he's reading 600-page books. And his mom was like, "I don't know if he's actually like understanding this stuff." So she read the books just to be able to like have dialogue with him. And lo and behold, he knew the plot line. He knew what was going on through the whole thing, and he was just ready to start learning. This is what human beings do. If they're interested in something, they'll naturally pursue something. Go check out the full replay. That interview is really great. She's got some fantastic resources on things that you can do. She has her own server that you can find through Autonomy and underneath the video. But really great lady. Hope to see her again. One more thing that we have Grand Theft World Town Hall. This has been going on for quite some time. We started the COVID server back in the day, right when the pandemic started off, just as a place to organize conversation and information. And we recently upgraded it into the Grand Theft World server because there's a much bigger narrative going on than just what the COVID is putting out there right now. And Mark Soul has taken on, he's carried the torch of doing a weekly town hall out of the Grand Theft World community. And he's just getting together each week and just going over some of the links, highlights that they share in that community, and having open discussion about that. So let's check it out.
A wolf in sheep's clothing. So Grand Theft World GTW. Shifting gears from Autonomy Town Hall to Grand Theft World. So the website this came out actually in September, but it's only now kind of coming to the forefront. And so this is a website that's kind of connected with the Discord server. And so, basically, yeah, we've got just more organized. It's more of a actual news outlet, if you will.
You guys just got to see
and they're going to be podcast thrive on, because I really want to look at like solutions opposed to talking about, what they're doing to us. Let's talk about what we can do for ourselves. And this is the Twitch TV is basically the podcast that I was talking about. Very neat. So you can subscribe, turn on notifications, I guess. I haven't got an account yet. So yeah, and there's the first one there. There's a little clip there. So please feel free to look at what's going on on that website, and it, like I said, is connected to the information that's coming out on Discord. So talking about Discord, I'm not sure about this room exactly that just came out, but yeah. So up.
Anyways, there's a bunch of supportive programs taking place that are all now starting to get interconnected, and what he covers throughout that week, Rich or some of the other team might catch that, and he's bringing things to attention so Rich can go over it during Grand Theft World. So we have this nice supportive interconnected network of gathering information, highlighting what's most relevant, and then being able to distribute that into a wider audience. We're streaming live now on Twitch on Sundays, so everybody can tune in while in real time. But those in the Grand Theft World and Autonomy community, they have the opportunity to participate. They can come on camera. They can share evidence themselves. They can chat into the Grand Theft World platform, so server. So really cool to see everything start knitting together. Last night we had our 8th lecture into the Autonomy season, and Justin Olson came on and gave just a stunning testimonial on his experience. Justin came with he joined season 3 last season, and man, that guy just hit the ground running. He was really smart guy, was well educated, and it wasn't until he joined Autonomy that everything just kind of unlocked. And since then, he's like in full charge of his own life. So here's a quick little clip of him describing that last night.
Yeah, but you did that, man. Because like a lot of people can come into this infrastructure and they don't. Opportunity. You opened your cell door, you went out, and you're on the road now. You're making moves in life, and your upward mobility has greatly increased since I first talked to you. Like, what was the opportunity? I mean, I remember what it was. You were working in the coffee shop making $10 an hour, weren't you?
Yeah, $10 an hour plus tips.
And you weren't really grooving to it. And I was like, with what you got going on, you could probably like learn your way into video editing, and we pay $20 an hour for that. And then you needed a little help with an enrollment. I was like, we can work trade a little bit of that $20 an hour. And you were psyched to be getting paid twice as much virtually to pay down your enrollment as you were at the real job. And how much longer did you last at that coffee shop after that?
It was a number of weeks. It was trivial in comparison to the investment that Autonomy became.
All right. So more importantly, recently you had a job offer to work at a car sales place. Because I thought of that earlier when I used that I was like, oh, I wonder if Justin's listening. So you had a nice lucrative offer where you could have settled down and not been on your traveling nomadic path of exploring freedom. And I'm sure those golden handcuffs in that situation were interesting, but you turned it down. So what was the offer? Why'd you turn it down? And what do you think now that you're a couple weeks, months away from that decision? Was it the right decision?
Oh, that is a really great question.
That's my job.
So
even at 4 in the morning,
I actually
my
job. Appreciate it, by the way. Was browsing through ads online, the Craigslist sales stuff. So I found a lower tier place, and then I went and I looked at it in person, and it was, well, used car sales lot, like not a place that Respect would be. So I just thought bigger, and I was like, why don't I just apply to all these dealerships? So I went in and I talked with the Ford one, which made sense, and for my family's always owned Fords and such. So, but without getting into too much detail with that, I went through and I interviewed with this man who had spent the last 20 years of his life purely in the dealership automotive sales industry. And that would be like 90% of my life. And I went in and I interviewed him, and he told me outright that in all of those 20 years, he had never seen anybody that was so educated as to the actual process of sales and this idea of it being a trust building relationship.
Yeah, because if he knew that, he wouldn't be working there. So he's kind of like, dude, where'd you find out? Can I get in? You should have enrolled him in this course.
That's hindsight, and I'll have the resourcefulness to be carrying around some cards to drop notes like that in the future for the right people that are ready to be intersected with the opportunity that autonomy presents.
And he did. He just hit me up today asking for the dollar bills autonomy business cards. So Justin, incredibly smart person, and you can just see how he's just able to take what he learned in autonomy, bring it out to the real world, and see the contrast of the whole picture. Danny, what you were just talking about of understanding, because they don't teach this stuff in school. This is powerful skills to acquire. I use it with my 2-year-old. I use it with my wife. I naturally do it in my business. Like I love to help others, and so being able to understand the dynamics of what's going on when you are exchanging value with people. My biggest issue was not asking for my own self-worth in that whole exchange. And so autonomy gave me the confidence, it gave me the understanding to be able to ask for my self-worth so that I can keep providing value to others. Because without that, if I just give, then I don't have, I'm not able to sustain myself. I'm not able to take care of my family. And what good is that to the world?
Sure, and I can relate with that deeply. Is when I first took the profile at the start of the course, I'm a pearl by nature, and so, but if the people that know me was like, well, we know you're a pearl deep down, but how are you able to do all the other things you do? Well, I had to learn the other elements and put them to work. And so even though I didn't know the terminology, and where I learned that from was not from the paint company, I learned it from real estate. And so when I delved into that, I had to learn how to be an emerald. I had to learn how to be a ruby, because if I didn't learn those, I would have never sold any real estate. It would have been like, because that's where I was struggling first was, okay, well, I got a mentor. I'm learning all the terminology for real estate. I have some exposure to some clients, but I wasn't closing deals. I was doing all this other legwork. And that was just the nature of the pearl, is you're always putting out to help people. There's nothing wrong with that. But eventually you have to sell something. And so you got to make a living. No, but that's valid. And so I didn't know, I knew how to close in paint, but I didn't know how to close in real estate. And so I had to learn what worked, what didn't. And eventually I did get that first sale. And it was from a client. I didn't see it coming. They were ready to make a purchase. I was able to service it, and I closed that deal right away. And then I had some other deals going on, but I had to learn how to be an emerald, how to be a ruby, how to be the other ones, and still be me. So I know when to turn it on and off. And so during the course of a sales consulting or whatever, that's why I see the value of that first exercise is, if you know who you're working with and if you know yourself, then you're able to bring value to that conversation and get to the point a lot quicker.
Yeah, I mean, prior to understanding that, it was just me and them, right? I didn't have a lot of context on how to engage with others. As I said, I think in the last episode of Do It Live, I was afraid to answer the phone to talk to people. Like this was about 8-10 years ago. And if the phone rang and I didn't know who it was, I didn't want to talk to a stranger. Now I even takes sales calls if people are bombing me all day, and if it's a real person I pick up and I have a couple minutes, I'll just start asking them questions and explore what's going on. No, I'm not interested in what you're saying, but I'm examining your sales technique. But it's really fun and engaging, and it's a bit of a sport, but because I use it for good, because I'm looking for ways to exchange value, bring value into people's lives. And like what you said, it feels good when you're able to exchange value and you get rewarded for that. That's like the best thing in the world. Like that it keeps keeps me going. I'm able to take care of my family, and it's really fun because it's like a different puzzle each time that you get to examine.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of what I do now is with a lot of the other people in my company, they get put into jams that they can't get out of. And so when they're in really real trouble, they'll call me. It's like, Danny, I got this problem, blah, blah, blah. We're in danger of losing this project or this sale. What can I do? It's like, well, let me talk to your client. And because I don't want to deal with it secondhand. So when I find out what's going on, okay, well, here is a viable solution that works for you. It works for us. Everybody wins. A lot of times it doesn't work that way, but still, when everything's said and done, more than often we have a happy client. We're going to get repeat business. The issues taken care of, and we look professional doing that.
Yeah, you can't vicariously do it through them because you have to seek what the underlying issues is, right? Like they're putting up some symptom that needs to be solved, but you can't just bring a strategy to that symptom and hope it's going to go away. You actually have to investigate what's the underlying issue here, because deep down this person's has a need that's not being fulfilled, and if you can figure out what that is, boom, then typically you know your industry, you know your craft so well, that solution just like pops up, right? You get to find your angle into solving this thing.
Sure. No, and that happens all the time. And so depending on who I'm on the phone with, there's different ways to present it. And so sometimes I don't get the call from the architect or the contractor. There was one time because this just happened. I got the call from an owner. He was a veterinarian opening a clinic. And so he was applying a floor coating that was supposed to level out clear as glass on this floor. Well, it didn't. It looked choppy. And so he was upset and he didn't know who to talk to. So he got my number. He called me. He's like, well, why didn't this coating dry smooth as glass when that's the way it's advertised? And so after asking a couple of questions, we determined, hey, it was applied wrong. The client or the contractor applied it wrong. Here's how you fix it. So I didn't throw anybody under a bus, but okay, here's the quick way to fix it. Sand the floor down to where it's smooth, apply another coat. Here are the parameters. It dries in 15 minutes. So you got to really spread it out there, and then you'll have a floor that you're happy with. Well, the contractor thought I threw him under a bus. It's like, no, you tried to stick your customer and play the Jedi mind trick on him, tell him that floor wasn't supposed to level out smooth. I'm not party to that. And so
because he's implying that there's a product or the client defect instead of taking responsibility, right?
Sure. And so after everything was said and done, he sanded that floor. He got another coat. So he was complaining about having to spend the money to put another coat on this floor to fix the problem. And no, this is how you fix it. Now, why would I do this? Is at the end of the day, that veterinarian is going to make a decision about how to promote that product because he's not happy with it currently. So moving forward, he has a choice. He's like, well, I didn't like this floor. They sold me a bad product, blah, blah, blah. And that's a negative testimonial. Instead, now what can he say? Hey, I had this issue. I called Danny up. He told me how to fix it. It got fixed. I'm happy. I'm telling all my clients, hey, when you want your floor done, call Danny.
Not only did it end up being a good product, but the company showed that they're resourceful and being able to address hear needs that need to be addressed and solve those. So you come out even showing yourself as a true winner, and that contractor just gained the learning lesson to not do that again. And so
yeah, and that's the thing is, I've worked with the contractor sector. If they get the opportunity to cut a corner, they'll cut two of them. And so, and I've seen that firsthand. And so, I'm not against the contracting sector, but hey, if you do your part, I can do mine, and because they're applying my products, they can make me look good or to make me look bad. And so usually it's never the contractor that gets the full blame for a lot of things. It's the manufacturer. And so one of the things I do is, hey, look, you know, if it is an application problem, we can fix that. We stand behind our products. But if it's applied knowingly wrong, hey, we need to have that conversation, get that straightened out.
Yeah, you guys don't have the liberty of having a poor product. That's not how manufacturing works.
No, and that's any manufacturer. And so the thing is, okay, do we have lower end products? Yeah, just like everybody else. But I always put out what their true expectation is. And so a lower end product, I'll pre-qualify it. Hey, are you flipping a property? Yeah. Okay. So you just want to make this thing look pretty, put it on the market and sell it. Great. We have something for that. Okay. That's not the same as a homeowner that wants to paint their house and they expect 10 years out of it. That's a very different conversation, very different products, very different application. So when you're qualifying people, you want to match up the right product and service to their expectation.
Because it's fulfilling.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's sustainable. Like they then promote you, you get more business, you get more opportunity. And so why would you not do it that way?
Yeah. No, there's people that they try to get around that, and those are the clients I don't want to work with, because they will undermine your integrity, and they're not in it for the long term. So you can get to a point where you can pick your own clients, and there's people I will not work with because I know where they come from. I'm not forced to work with people. I know, but the corporate office does not like that. But it's like, look, working with this person is going to cost our company, not just me personally, but this company, if we're not watching what we're doing. So I'd rather not work with them. Let Sherwin-Williams get sued. Let Benjamin Ward deal with it. I don't need the headache. and no, I mean, my time's valuable.
Nice. Self-worth.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the call want to talk about any insights they gained from last night's presentation or any highlights from this last week? We're covering the art of sales.
Yeah, I could step in there. There was something interesting that I noted about, we were talking about how these sales skills are valuable in other kinds of conversations where you're trying to, like, say, convince someone or maybe like help them see the problem from the angle you can see the problem from. And he was talking about how sometimes when a person's discussing like the events of their life or like the direction things are headed, like you've done some clearing on your map, so you can see where, like, you have a brand, like you just started up with a white piece of paper and they're telling you where things are and you're drawing out a map and there's like nothing on it, right? But they're over here with a map and they've like had some dirt on it. They dropped the map in the mud a couple of times. It's got like a smear here on the side, and you can see them just kind of like walking into the wall, and you're like, why does he keep walking into this wall? Because he got some mud there and he can't even see. So you can point out like maybe like their map has some dirt on it in places where your map doesn't really have the dirt. So you can just like help the person through. And it's you know, it's a very cool thing to, like, when you're doing sales the wrong way, you're kind of like leading the person down a path. You're just like, you're gonna do this and then come down here and then go over here and do this thing. And they're like, huh, yeah, okay, cool, that's what we're doing. But this way you're just like clearing the stuff out so then they can see it for themselves. Like I can see a way through here that maybe you can't see because, you know, you got some stuff here. So maybe you could try this and just head that direction and see what happens if you do go that way. Maybe you won't run into the wall that looks like it's in your way, you know?
I really like that because it's like having them with a blindfold on and you're trying to lead them through some unexpected territory. That's what they normally feel like with sales.
And you're like, don't
right?
look over there. Don't see that thing. No, that just keep looking ahead, straight ahead.
Instead, you take off the blindfold. Let's walk together, right? I got my map. We can share our maps and we can figure out how to navigate through this together.
Yeah. Instead of leading, you know, even if you are leading them a bit, it's like, you know, you're helping them. You're not trying to pull them into a place where they shouldn't go. It's not like you have a tiger pit dug up here and you're like, I just got to get 2 more people to fall in this pit this week and I am good.
Right. I get my quota.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Another thing we were talking about was, so I got some notes here. Oh yeah, the idea of closing the deal as far as like getting an agreement, like when you're trying to help a person, it's that's using the that's sort of a way of using like the social part of their mind and their social beingness, I guess, as like a way around maybe places where they're emotionally or mentally stuck and they can't find a way around things. Where you're saying like, well, you and me said we're going to do this thing, right? So if we do this thing together, then they like, oh, a lot of times in life, like you'll do something good for some other person that you wouldn't do for yourself. Where like, it may be a lot of work to get up in the morning every day and make yourself breakfast. But if your wife is like, can you make me breakfast in the mornings? And you're like, yeah, I got 5 minutes, I can do that. So it's kind of like this way you can actually utilize that rather than like fighting that instinct in yourself. You can actually use it to make things easier for other people. Where if you're talking to somebody, right, and then they have some issues, and you're like, so you see how this would be better, right? And then you see how this has been a problem. So maybe if you like take this part out and you could add this piece in, like remove some of these actions, maybe they like a little few hours less watching TV and then do this instead for like a half hour a day. And then you just, and then they say, okay, cool. And then you walk away. It's just like, they're like, yeah, I know that would be better, but I'm not doing it. So now I just feel like crap on top of also not doing it. Whereas if you get a contract, if you make some sort of a mental contract with them, like, so that's what we're going to do, right? So I'll see you 7:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and we'll do this. And that way they're like kind of had an agreement to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's inviting them to honor that agreement. And it's not just in a place of judging them like, oh man, you should really not play so many video games, peace, right? And leaving that with them. And I really liked what stood out to me last night was the responsibility of the follow-up, because you've made that agreement, right? And if you were to just leave them to their own accord, they'll just kind of settle back into previous habits and maybe not do what they were going to do. But because you were a part of that agreement, you're going to circle back around. You're going to like schedule it, check up on them, 2-week checkup, be like, hey, we talked about this. How's it going? And that right there shows to them that you like care about them, you care about your agreement, and that could give them just enough get up and go to be like, okay, you're right, let's do it. I said I was going to do this, and you're supporting them in that way. So I really like that responsibility of the follow-up.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because that takes what would otherwise be a feeling of them, like they're going to be in a worse place if they know they should be doing something and then they're not doing it, versus if they know they should be doing something, they made a plan to do it, now they are doing it, then that helps like get the ball rolling down the hill for them to feel better about things. And you said about the follow-up, that's interesting, because that is sort of leveraging the engine of habit that we were talking about before, where say if your normal habit is to mess around for a few hours a day and not get things done, then that's how that habit's kind of pulling you downhill. But if you set up a follow-up date, then you've already set habit for the future to be rolling uphill, and all you got to do is just follow the plan that's already been made.
Right. Yeah. Powerful stuff. Because like I said, this is applied in so many areas of our lives, not just in the business realm of trying to bring in more income for a business, but like on personal levels and family levels. Like this is basic stuff that I'm going to be glad my daughter's going to be growing up with this knowledge, but man, I can't believe I survived this long without a clear understanding of what is the art of sales.
I think an awful lot of us are going to be in that position where the place that we came from is so much different than the place that we're raising the next generation into, that there'll be differences in them even understanding, like, why is that act messed up all the time? Like, well, you have no idea what was like back in the day.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, does anybody else have anything to share from this last week before we wrap up? I mean, moving into week 9 coming up, and it's going to be getting good. This is where we're going to start examining different areas of digital marketing and aspects of marketing for yourself as an individual, as a brand, as an individual brand, as a business. If you have ideas, want to take things to market, we're going to start exploring these different avenues of outreach. This is what I do for a living, and so I'll have plenty to contribute on this, but this is where stuff gets really exciting because people are getting they're giving themselves permission. They're getting the tools in order to make value exchange with others. Now they're learning about the different avenues of being able to get the awareness out there with themselves, their ideas, their projects, their businesses. And this is where the rubber starts really hitting the road. One thing I wanted to cover real quick before we wrap up, we got the next Autonomy newsletter about to go out. You should be seeing this in your inbox here shortly. And I wanted to highlight this. Autonomy Season 4 student Rachel Goddard, her house literally just burnt down this last week. Luckily, her family was away from the house. She was sleeping in the house. Her neighbor's house caught on fire. It came over, lit her roof on fire, and a neighbor came and woke her up and got her out of her house. She was able to grab her laptop and her purse, and that was it before her whole house she lost her whole house, and she doesn't have insurance. So there is a GoFundMe started that's going to be popping out into this newsletter. And if there's anything you can donate to help her get back on her feet, she's such a sweetheart of a woman. I can't. If you haven't met her yet, definitely reach out. I know she would appreciate any condolences. But here are some recaps that's also coming out. We got Benny Wills just had his baby Teague. He is just opened up the doors for his new Parrhesia course. So you'll be able to check that out. That's going to be starting, I think, early next year. And then, highlights throughout. You'll be able to, nice and long, be able to check this out. Well, Danny, thanks so much for joining me on today's episode. This is really fun. You're an amazing individual, and I look forward to meeting you again. We're going to have a follow-up meeting and talk more biz. Just
definitely. Yeah. And I'm going to be a lot more active moving forward. Yeah. Cause that argument I was in, just, you know what, I left out of that thinking, you know what, I'm going to do my best Andy Dufresne imitation and dig my way out of there. And so, let's game time. Let's go.
Awesome. Yeah. Unfortunately, the mask is not going away. I thought it would dissolve by now, but apparently
they're going to double down and, you know, I know where they're going from here. They're going to roll out some sort of edict that says, you know what, if you want to still be employed, you got to get a vaccination and my career will be over because I'm not going there. And so I better start digging faster and get what I need to get to that next level. So we got to do whatever it takes from here on out.
And what's unique about you, Danny, is you know you have a choice in that matter. Most people will be like, well, my job's making me. That is resolving yourself from responsibility of what is piercing into your body. Like if you don't own your body, you don't own anything.
Right. And that's where they're going to challenge people is they're going to hit people below the belt. And if you're not prepared for that, you're going to get caught in some very compromising situations. And I'm not going that route. I know enough to know what I shouldn't be doing. So, and I got things I can contribute to help support where people need to go. And so I just need to get it out there. And so, it's unfortunate it's going to go that route, but that's where, you know, it needs to go. So let's get it done.
The line in the sand is being drawn. You got an awesome community supporting you. I look forward to our meeting, how Autonomy Limited can help you with your business goals and getting your valuable information on aquaponics out there for the world to be able to access. And because that's really needed.
It's needed. So let's get her done. So, I thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm looking forward to be part of the Do It Live. I've already put this in the calendar. So if you're on out, I'm here. So.
Awesome, Danny.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, for your time. I appreciate it. And let's keep this going.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us today. We're going to be here for the rest of the season. So we got probably about 5 or 6 more episodes to go. And make sure to subscribe or like whatever you're watching this on. BitChute, Library, YouTube, still there. And make sure to, if you want to know how to get autonomy for yourself, go to getautonomy.info/19skills. Get 19 skills not taught in school, and you'll be able to figure out how to get some autonomy in your life. Thanks, everybody. See you again next week.